These are the medications I have to take every day. They're a mixture of antidepressants, anti-anxiety drugs, and drugs for high blood pressure. So just these. In total, I'm on 9 medications. I have to take that to maintain a normal function during the day. And that will be the same for the rest of my life.
Simon Mudge's dad was a police officer in the Met before transferring to Avon and Somerset. At the tender age of 17, Simon followed in his father's footsteps and joined the force, serving his community for 27 years.
This is what I call my police call. Something of my service, my memorabilia, if you like. I've got my epaulets, which bore both my father's and my collar number. I joined the job wanting to catch all the baddies, stop all the violence, save all the children. I was the first one to get to a job, the last one to leave the nick. I enjoyed just wearing the uniform, to be honest with you. I loved it so much.
But one incident in 1997, early on in his career, changed Simon forever.
On this particular night, there was a report of 4 burglars that had broken into a shop. I run out the police station, run towards where they're supposed to be. I see these 4 people. They're 4 well-known people who are well-known to me. One particularly violent towards police officers. So I thought, yeah, maybe me. I've got 2 years in, I'm invincible, I'm a police officer, I can do this. I went up to them and they were carrying property, so I arrested all 4 of them.
But the offenders quickly took advantage of the fact Simon was single-crewed.
I got punched in the face. I drew my baton and I struck the person who punched me on the kneecap. And I got punched from behind, so I was on the floor. And the next memory I have is looking up and seeing all 4 people kicking me on the floor, kicking into my rib cage. I came to just as help arrived. By only good fortune, my sergeant at the time came down the road and saw what was happening and called up for more units to attend. And they fled. I, being quite angry, got up and chased after the person that punched me in the face. I managed to arrest him and get him cuffed. And then I walked back to where I was assaulted and just passed out on the floor. I was taken to hospital and had a broken rib and a broken jaw.
All 4 offenders were caught and arrested, but the outcome was not what Simon had hoped for.
I was told they were going to serve custodial sentences for what they did, but they didn't. I got to Bristol Crown Court and they got 200 hours community service and 2 years probation to a man, and they all walked out laughing. That incident was pivotal to my career. I always lived with the fear of I could go to work and this could happen again. But those who know me would never have guessed, because I was always, hey, Smudger, go out, let's go out and nick someone, let's go out and do this, go out and do that. So people never knew, and I never discussed it. I was back out working, but I wasn't really there.
As Simon's career progressed, he attended more and more traumatizing scenes, and his mental health deteriorated.
I was diagnosed in 1997 with post-traumatic stress disorder by a psychiatrist. I was very stroppy, very moody, not really pleasant to be around. I drank excessively to numb the pain. I did that for for years until it became outrageous and I just had to stop. I'm not proud of it, but that was a coping strategy. That's how I got through most days. But the demons come at night, when they come when you least expect them. I mean, I have nightmares pretty much every night of the scenes of carnage that I've had to deal with.
This was a world away from the enthusiastic young man who joined the police only 2 years previously.
I was a confident, larger than life, always taking the mickey. I'd always be there first, I'd always be there to back someone up.
But now, Simon was living a very different reality.
That incident was always at the back of my mind. This could happen again. This could happen again. This could happen again. And it did happen again.
Later, as Simon struggles to cope, another horrific incident pushes him to the limit.
I thought, that's it. This is where it ends. The only thing that I could think of was my unborn child. I thought, I'm never going to get to see her. So I just said goodbye.
In 1997, former police officer Simon Mudge was subjected to a horrific attack whilst apprehending 4 burglars on his own. The attack was so severe that it led to him being diagnosed with PTSD. But one person has helped Simon through some of his darkest days. His wife, Rowena.
Lily, come and have your hair done.
The couple met when Rowena joined the police in 2006.
You know where it is?
Good girl.
They've been married for 13 years and have 3 daughters together.
Chaotic.
Simon has always been a really warm and loving, particularly loyal person. And when I say loyal, I don't just mean to us as his family, I mean to the job that he joined as well. Whatever he sets his mind to, he's always been quite a loyal person. Okay. But yeah, just really friendly, warm, loving, a really good dad.
Look, darling.
When we first met, I had absolutely no idea that Simon had previously suffered with PTSD and just all the symptoms that come with that. He hid it really, really well. And in fact, like a lot of people with PTSD, he hid it for several years afterwards. I first became aware because I couldn't wake him up one morning and I couldn't understand why I couldn't wake him up. And I was naturally quite worried. And when I did wake him up, he told me that he'd been taking sleeping tablets because he couldn't sleep and he'd been having bad dreams. And that's how I first knew that he suffered with what I now know is PTSD, but I didn't know a lot about it at the time. I think PTSD's sort of been one of those conditions that was suffered in the background, behind closed doors, stiff upper lip, people just got on with it. So it was several years into our relationship when I really discovered that he suffered with it.
In 2003, Simon was subjected to yet another violent attack. This incident would change the course of his life forever.
Looking at it now, it's a nice place. People out enjoying themselves, walking with their dogs and what have you. You know, completely oblivious as to what happened here 17 years ago. But it's still very real for me. It was July 2003. My ex-wife was pregnant with my first child, Ella. It was a hot, sweaty, horrible day.
There was a music festival here, in the grounds of Ashton Court, a country estate in Bristol. Simon was in a unit of 5 PCs and a sergeant who were in a van patrolling the crowds.
There was obviously drinking, drug taking. What you had then was the tide was very definitely turning. The mood changed. It became very aggressive towards the police.
After a long and difficult day, Simon's shift was nearly over. But a last-minute incident would have devastating consequences.
We were sat in the van waiting to go. I think we were just relieved to finish. When a member of the public came running up to our van, banged on the side of the door, and we opened the door, and my dad's getting assaulted back in the crowd in the front of the dance tent. We get to this guy, he's surrounded by the biggest crowd I've ever seen. We were right in the middle of the crowd. There was dance music blaring out from the dance stage, so you can imagine you can't hear yourself think, let alone listen to this radio. We were talking to this man's father to establish what happened, and he basically said that everybody had taken a bit of a punt at him and hit him and what have you. So identifying the suspect was nigh on impossible. And the son then turned at me and became extremely aggressive, swearing and being abusive and shouting at me, and I was like trying to calm him down. After a couple of minutes of his abuse, I decided I wasn't going to take any more of it and just grabbed hold of him with the intention of moving him out of the crowd, taking him to the police compound and taking him away from there. However, as soon as I laid hands on him, I felt a blow across the back of my head and I was knocked unconscious. When I regained consciousness, he was underneath me and he was fighting and kicking and gouging, and the crowd surrounded us, and I couldn't see anything but feet and hands and arms and kicks and punches. The crowd got a bit closer, they started chucking cans, bottles at us. The old kick, the old punch would come out. At that point, I was urinated on by someone. There are no words I can use to describe that. Humiliating, yes, it was. It was disgusting, and it was quite possibly the worst thing that I've ever had done to me. And then from somewhere in the crowd, we were sprayed with CS spray. I couldn't hear anything, couldn't see anything. All I wanted to do was just hang on to my prisoner. The density of people, literally falling over each other to get at us. They were tightly packed. There was no way through it. There was no way over the top of it. There was just no way that was going to happen. So I had to stay where I was. I felt completely alone, at the mercy of a baying crowd that would quite happily see my blood. And at that point, I thought I was going to die. I said inside my head, "Goodbye, Ella," because I never thought I was going to see my unborn child. And that lived with me for a very long time. I'd had several times in the job where I've been assaulted quite badly, and I've always thought I'll come out the other end of it. But on that day, I thought that was it. I thought my 9 lives had run out. Eventually, and it seemed like a dog's age away, I heard the sound of 2-tone sirens, which means there was someone coming to help us. And the crowd cleared, and I was grabbed hold of by the back, and it was my skipper who put me on board the van, and we were driven off to the police post, which is literally sort of seconds away. I can see it like it was yesterday, but I've got to be grateful for the fact that on leaving the police, I received quite a substantial amount of trauma counselling, which helped me deal with things like this.
Although Simon was struggling with PTSD, his career was flourishing and he received numerous commendations for his work. But after attending countless more harrowing scenes, his nightmares and flashbacks became worse and more frequent.
Just before Poppy was born, so in 2011, that's when he really started suffering really badly with the symptoms of PTSD, and sort of since then it's really been quite a roller coaster of sort of symptoms and conditions, really.
It just made me cautious. At times it made me aggressive because I didn't want to go through the things I'd been through again. I'd sweat, I'd shake, any loud noise would trigger me. My cortisol, my sort of fear chemical was so much in my brain that I was in fight or flight all the time. There was never any rest.
In 2014, Simon realised he couldn't carry on like this and once again went to see a psychiatrist.
He diagnosed me with severe and complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Then the only complexity being the amount of exposure I've had to traumatic incidents. It all began to disintegrate. The day I broke, I got to work after being advised not to go in, and something happened at work. And I just marched up to the inspector's office and said, I don't want to be a cop anymore. And he was a very kindly man, sort of sat me down, wrote a report and said, basically sent me home. So I don't expect to see you again. And that was the hardest thing I've ever done, because I loved being a police officer so much. It was my entire life. Thank you, mate.
Andy Roebuck is the chair of Avon and Somerset Police Federation and has become good friends with Simon since hearing about what he's been through.
How's it all going?
I'm all right, mate, yeah, not too bad.
Simon's a great person, and I think he has a real story to tell.
It's going all right, touch wood.
There's things in there that can happen to anyone within the police. We've got to learn from that, because I have to be honest, I think as an organisation we've made mistakes. I would like to think that if Simon was in those positions that he was those few years ago, that actually now he wouldn't have had to be shown the door.
Yeah, it's really...
We've missed an opportunity. You know, we've got a really passionate guy who wants to be a police officer, who was doing all sorts of wonderful things, who was proactive, who was keen, enthusiastic, who was known as Mudger, who would go out and make those arrests, and that's what people want, as far as, or one of the things that people want as police officers, and probably as an organisation we took our eye off of that. We have to make sure that people like Mudger don't fall through the net again. You know, if they are broken, let's repair them. Let's take responsibility to build them and make them and their family a better, stronger unit.
When you're a police officer, you have standing in the community. You can do things, you can help people, you can have an impact. All of a sudden, you go from that to civilian, and it's like, I grieved it. I miss it desperately. I miss it desperately. There you go, fella.
Back in Somerset, Simon Mudge is learning to cope with a very different life outside of the police force, with the support of his loving family.
I mean, I'm better than I was. I am better than I was, and I've got techniques that I use to ground myself when things get on top. I have to have a routine. I clean the house, I take the kids to school. Any change in my routine really upsets me. Little victories for me is going training. I weight train twice a week. Just increasing the weight you can lift or having a good session. That's a win for me. Watching my girls grow up and become young ladies is you know, a huge one for me. Yeah, they do take care of me, and they mean the world to me, all of them.
That's good. Now I'm going to drive a car.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I think mainly is my wife providing a steady life, steady and stable environment for us all.
I have to remember that it's not personal. So his PTSD is not about me. It's not about our relationship. It's about what he's experienced previously. So I do have to remember that, because sometimes he can get quite personal. If he's in that place where he's feeling really low and his emotions are sort of taking him over, or he's having a flashback, it's not about me, it's about the trauma. Ultimately, I love Simon, and I have always loved him. And, you know, it is now part of who he is. It's part of the man that, you know, I spend my life with.
Happy now? I've been honest with the girls, because Poppy's 8 now, Lily's 10, Ella's 16. So I've explained to them all that I have PTSD, and that sometimes, you know, I'll be a bit moody or a bit down.
We don't tell them everything. I don't believe children need to know everything, but they do understand that Daddy is different to other daddies.
Mm-hmm.
And this is your life. This is your menstrual state. This is Mum, Polly, Poppy. This is me. This is someone you arrested. This is your pill, your weights, and your police helmet.
It's so insightful of the girls, you know, and so thoughtful. I love it. What they do is really special. You know, it just goes to show how much they think about things.
Now that I'm 10, I know what actually is going on, and I love Daddy so much. He's the best dad I could ever want.
I don't know what I would do without him. He's always been a special dad, because there's no other dad like him.
There's no one that can pull off a t-shirt like that.
If something's wrong with Dad, then it doesn't work to try and hide it, because we will always know if something's wrong.
But you always find out, like we always find out when you have fish and chips.
Yeah.
You do always find out, that's
Find
right.
out.
For now, Simon is working on rediscovering his place in the world.
My hope is, as time goes on and as the girls get older, that he will realise that life outside the police service is just as important, and that he can have a fulfilled life. He's got a purpose that isn't just being a police officer. That's my hope for him.
Things are improving, definitely improving. I don't feel like I live from day to day anymore. For years and years and years, my name was Mudger. That persona carried me through the police service, but now I'm Simon. And it doesn't sound like anything at all, but for me it's quite a major thing. You know, I'm not that person anymore. I'm just a man, a father, a husband. You know, that's what I am. You know, that's who I am these days. And I'm more than comfortable with that.